Spring 1966 had become much warmer as we moved into the first week of May. I had left the architectural drafting job that I loved to prepare for the imminent birth of my first child. Excited and restless, I welcomed the idea of a party. My husband, Jay, and I lived in an apartment complex in Dorval, minutes from the airport. Because of this proximity, easily half the tenants in the complex were airline personnel. Some, pilots and engineers, came home to enjoy time with wives and children. 90% of the others were in their 20s, widely traveled, living disjointed lives interrupted regularly by midnight flights to Bangkok, Oslo, Paris. Just being on a first-name basis with them seemed romantic. I was, after all, quite young. Cigarette smoke billowed into the hallway as Dion, our host, opened the door on a scene made famous in films such as Breakfast at Tiffany's and The Party. The dark blue-walled room, so crowded it seemed that if everyone inhaled simultaneously, the walls must bow. Shrieks of alcohol-enhanced laughter and the roar of conversation, shouted over music played so loud that even in the corridor I thought my ears might bleed, slammed through the open doorway. I wished suddenly for my comfortable chair and half-read mystery. Too late. I had agreed to come, and Jay was already through the door and lost in the crowd. Not that he was likely to be lost. Every apartment in the complex had exactly the same floor plan, alternating units, mirror images so that the mechanical chases could serve double duty. The alcohol, Jay's lodestone, would be in the kitchen. He wouldn't get lost. A lithe young woman sprang from a chair as I entered the room, solicitously propelled me into it and scooted away. Hugely pregnant, my sense of gravity regularly overwhelmed. It gave up now completely, and I flopped into the deep armchair. Barrel-shaped, with arms and back the same height, it enfolded me. The back of my skull came to rest against the chair back. With my arms pinned to my sides, my chin pressed hard into my collarbones, and my titanic belly and engorged breast pointing ceilingward. I could feel, but not see, my hem sliding toward my hips from knees, thrust out and up. I pictured myself a caged, graffiti-covered whale. I had been forced to use 4 yards of fabric earmarked for fancy pillowcases to make myself a smock when my bump had outgrown all of my maternity clothes. I flailed and scrambled against the long burgundy pile of the heavy upholstery, unable to get my shoulders high enough to brace or to get purchase with my fingers. I saw with relief that Jay was headed purposefully in my direction. He had a drink in each hand and was engaged in intent conversation with 2 bosom companions. He thrust a small vase full of ice cubes, club soda, and a transparent lemon slice into the hand I had managed to get high enough to signal for help. Without a single glance at me, all 3 of them reversed direction and were instantly swallowed in the crowd. The acute angle of my head compressed my throat, turned my shouts to grunts. Dropping the drink would result in a bath for me in the chair, but no satisfying glass-to-floor crash. Do you need some help? Thank you, gods. Yes, please. If I was ever on my feet again, she might barely reach my shoulder. Who was she kidding? My doubts, surely, showed on my face. It's okay, I'm really strong. She grasped my wrist and withdrew the huge, overfull tumbler from my panicked grip. Having disposed of that burden, On a nearby upturned milk crate, she braced her feet outside mine, bent her knees slightly, and locked me in a hand-to-wrist grip. "Let's get you sitting first." "Good idea." Amazingly, she drew me steadily into a sitting position whence I was able to brace my feet and elbows, and using her as counterweight, heave myself to my feet. "I may never be able to thank you enough." "No problem. I'm new to town. I live upstairs and I can't sleep with the noise, so I came down and crashed the party. You can repay me by talking to me." Amanda's apparently delicate build was deceiving. She had 4 older brothers and was accustomed to using all of her considerable strength in the battle to survive the testosterone overload. She had softly curling, shoulder-length hair of the bright coppery gold shade made famous in paintings by Titian, a small straight nose, and a wide, full-lipped mouth that smiled and laughed constantly. She kept up an easy flow of biting, but hilarious, anecdotes about neighbors and, surely not, friends. Back home in Toronto, she hinted at failed romances and lost loves, alluding, though not naming, a problem that all the men seemed to share. She displayed no evidence of heartbreak. She regaled me with stories that covered eastern Canada from the Lakehead to the St. Lawrence Gulf. Scattered throughout this saga were probing questions, dressed in glittering comedy, about our neighbors, the party's attendees, the local watering holes, and the general lay of the land. I had discovered that the devil chair, while impossible to sit in, had arms and back broad enough and at the perfect height to rest a buttock on quite comfortably, and the 2 of us stood there, just inside the door, as the party swirled and cycled past us to be observed and commented upon. For well over an hour we laughed and talked like old friends reunited after several years' absence. We made tentative plans to get together again, soon. "My brothers are all married, and 3 of them have kids. I love being an aunt," she gushed at one point. "When you have your baby, I'll feel right at home." As an only child, I have always been a little at sea about sibling relationships, but this did give me pause. I wasn't sure how I felt about having a relative stranger declare a relationship with my unborn child, but I wasn't savvy enough to hear alarm bells. My eyelids had begun to droop. I had drunk little of the club soda, but my bladder was screaming and quivering anyway. There was a lineup for the bathroom, and home was right across the street. But if I went home to pee, I would never make it back past the bed I could feel beckoning. I have to go. Already? I'm really tired, and if I don't get to a bathroom soon, we'll be swimming. She smiled sympathetically and nodded. Maybe tomorrow, then. Sure, I nodded back. I just have to tell Jay I'm going. Won't he go with you? Not as long as the free booze lasts. Oh, okay, then I'll walk you over. You don't have to bother. It's just across the street. Yeah, but I'll feel better. What if you fall or something? And I'll come right back. You don't have to stay up and entertain me or anything. Okay. I found Jay in carefully enunciated conversation with some of the group he always managed to find at every boozy occasion. This is Amanda. As an attention getter, it worked spectacularly. The women's eyes narrowed. Amanda smiled sweetly at them. The men's eyes widened, as did Amanda's smile. Jay's chin slackened a little further. I'm going home now, Jay. I'm really tired. That, right there, that was my first mistake. Yeah, okay, he drawled. I'll be along a little later.